Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Active Life Podcast. I am joined in studio once again by the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Sean Pastuch.
Why is it the guys who look like they never worked out who are always giving exercise advice on the internet? That's me.
I want to see that in your Instagram bio.
Yeah, I should. Guy who looks like he never worked out giving exercise advice on the internet. I think I do look like I've worked out though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little.
You look like you have worked out.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So I've had questions at the flagship from clients, and you can imagine the types of clients that these are, the ones who like to know a lot of stuff about the history of the company, the brand. The question is, what does the logo mean? The icon, the pyramid, the triangle.
I like that people asked that because I think it was actually very intentional when we did it. There was thought process behind just making the logo a font, like writing Active Life in a font.
Yep.
Which a lot of companies do. But I always had big aspirations for what I felt like Active Life could be. And so I saw companies who had an icon and a font as being significantly more meaningful than companies who simply had a font. Now, I have no basis for that except the companies I know, right? Like, I don't want to be McDonald's, but they have a logo. Apple, Nike, you start to see, yeah, they all have something pretty cool. And so we did an icon. And I didn't want to just do an icon because then what's the point? I just do something we thought looked cool. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to look cool, hold the space of being important enough on its own, and have meaning. So our logo, the icon in our logo, is an interpretation of our hierarchy of needs that we teach people is their way of basically decision treeing their way out of their problem. So the line that goes through it when we originally designed it was meant to partition the fitness industry from the fitness industry.
The fitness industry from the fitness industry?
From the medical industry, excuse me.
Got it.
So fitness from medical, the gap between fitness and healthcare. And it still does that. We've just changed what's on the hierarchy a bit.
Well, we've reformulated the position
right
in which those things are on the hierarchy.
Yes.
Most significantly, we've taken, it was work to rest ratio used to be towards the top, and we've taken that out or moved it to the bottom, and it's become recovery and capacity, which is the same thing, very similar.
Right.
It's the base of the hierarchy now.
Right. And you know, you could even add another layer below that's education. Like you can keep going, but
Right.
we're talking about the physical here. And the line that went through is meant to be able to, when I was at seminars, I would draw the line and I would explain, your job is here. And if you're looking at the icon, it was to the left of the line. The jobs to the right are going to be for medical professionals. And what you would notice is that there is a little bit of the bottom box, so a little bit of every single box to all of a box was on the fitness professional side of the line. And most to none was on the medical provider's side. And that was where the icon started from. We wanted to be able to elucidate what's in scope and what's out of scope.
Okay. So we went through a brand refresh a few months ago now.
Yep.
In 2024. Why didn't the icon change?
Because the icon has meaning. The person who did the rebrand suggested changes to the icon. I said, look, this is what it means. If you can provide us with something of equal meaningful value, I'll entertain it. But I'm not going to pay for a logo redesign that I don't want. And so you do something that blows me away, I'll pay you for a new logo. You don't, it stays. And something I should have added is the line that goes through, if you notice it, it thins as it goes. That was meant to be an infinite line. So the idea of we're constantly growing, we're constantly iterating, we're constantly changing, and this just goes on forever. that was the intention of that line thinning as it went.
Why 3 colors? At least as far as it's always been 3 colors, right?
Yeah, it's always been 3 different colors. I mean, the colors didn't have specific meaning, but the idea of the colors is there is a biological, a psychological, and a social element to everything that we do, and it touches on all of it. So we can't solve these problems thinking of them as purely physical. They won't get solved on somebody's couch. We have to be able to incorporate everything that goes into creating the problems into solving the problems. And the logo is important to me because one of the biggest flaws that I see in the way that people inside of the fitness industry or in the medical industry approach problems is they do it through a very myopic lens. I've seen this a million times. This is how you fix it. But you've only seen it once in that person. And the way that that person got it is different than anyone else you've ever seen it through. And so we have to figure out how that person got it so that we can make sure that we don't just solve it for today, but we solve it for forever. And most people in fitness and most people in healthcare are not doing that.
They're looking at, how do I solve it right now?
What is the fastest line from here to you not having that problem anymore? It would be like if we had a roof leaking in our house and they're like, yeah, I can patch that up over and over and over again. And then you find out the house has to come down. The foundation's a problem and it has been for like 40 years. Well, damn it. I wish someone would have addressed the foundation 40 years ago.
Yeah. Well, you had started to mention that for the hierarchy, right? The impetus of this entire icon, like that has changed.
What do you mean the impetus? Oh, the hierarchy has.
Yes, the hierarchy, which is the foundation on which the icon was built.
Yeah.
Right. So that has changed. How has that change influenced the meaning of the icon now, or has it?
I think it even stronger influences the meaning of the icon now, because putting recovery and work under everything physical obviates that our physical is typically a result, not a cause. And so we can't simply look at the physical for our solutions when they weren't the cause. And the line still goes through all of the phases of the hierarchy, meaning if you're looking at this like you're trying to visualize what it is, it's a triangle, and the triangle is horizontally split into different segments. The bottom segment is recovery and capacity. How well are you recovering from what you're doing?
Yep.
And
work plus rest equals adaptation.
Right. So there's a part of that is the fitness professional's responsibility. There's also a part of that might be the mental health professional's responsibility.
Okay.
That's like we were talking about on a different episode. The idea of how did you start making these decisions? We need to dig into that. Well, we don't.
Right. We're going to start going back to the root cause of things.
The root
and addressing trauma and dealing with trauma.
Yes. Like there
that's a mental health professional.
Yes. And you know, I like to think of root causes as root systems. Like, have you ever seen the root of a plant? To suggest that there's a root.
Has anyone ever not seen the root of a plant?
I don't know, man. Probably the mouth breathers on my Instagram account who tell me, don't even say squatting is essential. They just bitch at me. Sure. I imagine they haven't seen the root of a plant.
So it's like saying it's a root.
Yeah, right? There isn't a root. Usually there's a root system. And so a plant can live with some of its roots not being functional in an optimal way. We don't handle all of the roots. We handle some of the roots. Okay.
Yeah, I'm buying into this now. That makes more sense to me. So from the recovery and capacity standpoint, the base of that hierarchy, the base of the pyramid, there are things that are going to be within the scope of the fitness professional.
For sure.
When it becomes, to your point, around the mental health aspect or even medical nutritional therapy, right? So we need to get prescriptive with a macro plan. We need to start identifying that you have Crohn's or you have diverticulate. You have these things that are going to influence what you're consuming. That's where work with an RD.
Yeah, not us. Yeah. But I mean, like, I'll give you an example of where the line is for a fitness pro. Someone walks in and they tell you, I'm so stressed out. Last night was brutal. My kid had me up 4 different times. I didn't sleep. I'm living on coffee right now. Your responsibility as a fitness pro in that moment is to properly modify the stimulus that you're going to provide to the client to meet their physiological needs, not their mental desire to further trash themselves. That's the base of the pyramid. Most of the time, that simple thing is not happening.
Yeah, the fitness pro is being like, okay, well, let's get to working out.
If they know.
So if they're even having the conversations you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, one of my pet peeves is hearing a person ask another person a question that doesn't actually go anywhere. So someone walks in for a training session. How are you today? Doesn't mean shit. It's not specific enough to solve for anything that you need. When I played basketball, it would be what my coach would call the nervous dribble. Caught the ball, dribble, now you're screwed. Right? You're doing it because you're not ready to just come out and ask questions that guide your day. Hey, how'd we sleep last night? What's your water look like? How's your stress? 3 really simple questions. Anything bothering you today? Make it 4. Have you eaten? 5. Like, these are really simple things that you can ask that tell you a lot more than how you doing today. I'm great. Shut up. Train me. What I really mean is I'm stressed to the tilt. I don't want to talk about it. I'm here to blow off some steam.
It reminds me of Tom Segura's bit where when somebody asks you how your day is going, there are 2 acceptable answers. Good and fine.
Yeah.
And if you're not good, you say you're fine. You don't burden other people with your problems. 4 questions, 5 questions that the professional or the fitness pro, the coach, the trainer can ask when somebody shows up for a session that gives them better information and data to be able to then make any changes to the plan, the program.
5 questions that a fitness coach can ask somebody when they walk into a gym that are better than how are you doing today are, what was your sleep like last night? How much water have you drank? Did you eat? Is anything bothering you? And how's your stress? If you ask those 5 questions, you're going to get a lot more information from the person who you're about to train than, how are you today? Hey, it's Dr. Sean here reminding you that if you are a coach who wants to fill the gap neglected by fitness and healthcare, and you want to make a career doing it, we might be able to help you. Head to the show notes. There's a link there. You're going to click that link to download the ALP curriculum. That's the stuff that we teach to coaches over the course of 13 months to turn them into world-class professionals who never have to worry about missing a paycheck again, doing work they love to do. Go ahead and check that out, and I'll see you on the other side. Let's get you back to the show.
Okay, so we're working up the hierarchy. The next 2 we already know about, flexibility and mobility. Those used to be on the bottom, but those are still they're now a larger percentage of them become within the scope of the professional and the fitness side rather than the medical side.
Yeah, well, what's happened is you got to remember when we started this company, I was still a practicing chiropractor. And I had not taught any of this to trainers. So there was a lot less that I felt was appropriately within the scope of a fitness pro than there is now. We've gone from educating them not at all to educating them for 2 days to educating them for 12 weeks, an hour a week. If you missed a Zoom call, you can watch the recording. No problem. Okay, great. To educating them for 13 months and over 1,000 hours. Like, a lot more is now appropriately within the responsibility of the fitness pro. It was always in the scope. It just was irresponsible to do. So now there's more that's responsible to do because we've taught so much more.
Okay. Makes sense to me. We move up to strength balance. That becomes I mean, now we're starting to really get into the realm of training as opposed to a medical intervention.
Yep. And a medical intervention for strength balance would be something like your adductors are not working. Your adductors are reflexively weak. We have to figure out why they're reflexively weak and solve for that. That is not a trainer's job. A trainer can say, you adduct poorly. We're going to make that better. Can't say your adductors. Simple difference, right? But there's a huge scope gap there. That's what's happening in the strength balance portion.
Got it. Okay, the top of the pyramid then becomes our skill and motor control.
Which I don't think, generally speaking, that's an occupational therapist for somebody who's badly hurt enough, but generally speaking, I can almost even confidently say, specifically speaking, the doctor, the trainer, the doctor, the physical therapist, the chiropractor, their job is not skill. Skill falls within the trainer's scope squarely.
By that.
Yeah. The problem is most people invert the pyramid. So you show up, a client shows up at the gym. Oh, my knee hurts when I squat. Let me see you squat. Open up your feet a little bit. Does that feel better? They'll give you some obscure answer, right? Like, maybe a little. Yeah. That's a no.
Right.
Okay, that's a no, coach. All right, well, try and press your knees out when you do that. Now, I'm oversimplifying, but that's an example of a skill intervention to solve a physical ailment that is not going to be solved through skill until we've identified this is not an under-recovered issue. This is not a flexibility or mobility issue. This is not a strength or strength balance issue.
Yeah, that was one of the things when I first started learning about this specifically in 2019 that became so revelatory at the time for me in my coaching progression was the squat is not the tool, is not a diagnostic tool for understanding where a dysfunction might be occurring for an individual. There's too many things going, and this was like we were measuring against like FMS, for example, as some ways to like be assessing people. And it's all about, okay, what's the information that I'm trying to gather from this assessment and what's the use case for that information?
Well, using a squat like an assessment would be like punching somebody in the face to find out if their skin is strong. I made that up. I don't know. It was my best one. Wasn't my best one. It would be like throwing a kid into the pool to find out if they can swim.
Okay.
Right? Like my mom did to me. but it's not advisable.
Yeah.
You would not go to a kid's birthday party where there's a pool and be like, let's just assess their swimming ability and start throwing kids into the deep end.
Right.
You could, and you would certainly find out, ooh, Johnny can't swim.
Yeah. Oops.
Well, now we can yell, Johnny, use your legs. Or we can jump in and pull Johnny out of the pool. Or he can drown. Those are all the options. Alternatively, we can evaluate all of Johnny's skills that would indicate he can probably swim before we throw him in the deep end. One of them being, hey, Johnny, can you swim? As a question.
Right. I like that. Okay. What else? Way
better than the skin.
Yeah. That we tried. You gotta
you don't make all the shots.
That's right.
You don't make all the shots. But I want people to also recognize that like all of this is in that logo. We're talking about the icon. And all of this is in it. It's a whole world that the fitness professional and the medical professional are not introduced to at all. And it all fits inside that stupid triangle with a line through it.
I don't think it's stupid.
It's not. Your arms aren't scrawny. They're nice.
I like them that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that's from, just move on.
Google it. Give it a Goog.
ChatGPT it.
I don't get on that as much.
I think if you put that into Google, your search results are going to start to be really interesting.
Well, play the game.
I like your arms.
What else is valuable around the icon? This was helpful. This was helpful clarity for me. I remember us talking about this at one point in time, but we hadn't gone this deep on it.
Well, I remember feeling mature when we finally did it. It's not the first icon.
There was like a running guy or something.
Yeah, there was a running person with ribbons in them. And then there was the running person into the icon.
Huh.
I remember being really disappointed in my decision to partner with the friend I partnered with in my CrossFit gyms the moment that we designed a logo. I was like, fuck, we do not have the same taste.
Was it like barbells and skulls and?
Yes.
Got it.
I was like, this is not mature or high end. Fine. When I built our logo for Active Life, I wanted it to be aesthetically pleasing to anybody. So the first thing that we came up with was a unisex figure running with ribbons of color, the same colors, the same 3 colors that represented fascial lines and muscle lines. The issue I ran into with that was it was cool, but it wasn't accurate. And so now I felt like you can't show motion with inaccuracies if you're the company that does what we do. Hired a graphic designer to build something more mature, and she came up with the triangle and put the running person into it. That was good because I liked the running person. And my business partner at the time, different business partner, was pivotal in getting me to move from the running person to something new. So we hired this woman, and I was like, running person stays. And it just didn't make sense. Running person came out. We were left with this, and I really like it.
I think that intention piece for the coach, for the trainer, for the business owner listening to this is critical. We've worked with a bunch of clients who have gone through brand redesigns because they dropped their CrossFit affiliate, they changed their name, they changed their specialty, whatever, right? And sometimes, this was one of the mistakes that I believe that I made when I de-affiliated in COVID and decided to drop like the whole Fortitude Strength and Conditioning, home of CrossFit Coldwater, and just go to Fortitude Strength. Going back, I would have changed the icon. I maybe would have changed the name or part of the name in such a way that there wasn't as much synonymy with what we used to be and have. But the logo and the whole Fortitude piece was a critical part because there was already an interpretation in the marketplace of what that meant. And to go a step further, you know, if you have the gym, you have the facility, and you're thinking about apparel as for example, and you have the skull, the crossbones, the barbells on your apparel, you need to be thinking about who that's speaking to. And if you want to speak to that person who wants to be the hardcore, they want to be gung-ho, awesome, you're crushing it. But your mom, my mom, is not going to walk in and be like, that's a really neat shirt. I'd love to wear that around. Right.
Well, look, I mean, I think you can start with as simple a question as, does my ideal client have tattoos that are visible? Like, I think we would take someone with visible tattoos, but they're not like, we're not waiting on like the neck tattoo to walk in.
Right.
You have tattoos. It's not a shot at them. It's just our ideal client probably doesn't.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So we need to be more conservative with our logo and our language. And I like it that way. It's not like I feel like we're walking on eggshells. Like that's how it feels.
Professional.
And you, and
not clinical. Not sterile.
Right.
It feels professional.
You can be professional and have tattoos. You can be all of those things. That's not me. And at the end of the day, the company has to be an extension of me in some way, shape, or form, because no matter what happens, I'm in it. Unless I sell it, which is not my intention at all. And then they can change the logo and fuck it all up like private equity does. But there was something that you were saying earlier, whatever.
About the logo, about the shirts. And
oh yeah. I know where it was. It's important. One of the things that I really am bothered by when I hear is when marketing people or business people will speak online about the irrelevance of a logo. Like you don't need a new logo. It's true. You're not one logo away from a successful business.
Sure.
But could you describe the logo that describes the business that you want to have? I think the exercise of going through designing a logo, an icon that represents your business in a way that is accurate and makes you proud is a tremendous thought experiment to build the business that you want. So will a logo make your business successful? No. But is the inability to describe the logo that you would want to have if your business was successful an indication of a problem? I think it is.
Well, even your inability to describe why you have the logo that you have now.
Sure.
Could be a problem.
I just thought dogs were cool.
Yeah. Well, we really like barbells here. Yeah, that's an excellent takeaway and a thing to wrap on for anyone who's considering, well, do I have a concern with marketing? Can you look at your logo? Have you articulated why your logo is what it is? Do your clients understand why your icon, not just the word, but is the way that it is? If the answer to that is yes, you've probably done a pretty good job of explaining to them the purpose of your icon. And if they better understand the icon, you're going to, again, this is just one of the pieces, but you're going to have a better chance of getting them on board with the mission, getting them on board with becoming the zealot, becoming the brand, the maven for your brand.
I'd like to give people a life raft in case if they're not ready to do all of that. Let's say your logo is just like a silhouette of your dog because you love your dog. Why did you choose the font you chose? Maybe it wasn't intentionally to build a business around the font, but what did it make you feel like? Because what you're saying is you want your business to feel like your font makes you feel. Oh, it was aggressive and hardcore. Okay, great. So you want your business to be aggressive and hardcore. Yes, great. So we chose an aggressive and hardcore font that would tell the person coming through, this is an aggressive and hardcore business. Like start giving yourself those little wins. And then if you look at your logo, your like the fonts you use, the icon that you have, and you say, this does represent what it was. It doesn't represent what I want it to be. Then you go ahead and change it.
I like that. Understand why it is and what it says.
Yeah. Often it's, you did it on purpose. It just might've been subconscious.
Sure. Love that. Sean, thank you for explaining the icon. It was helpful. Remember, and I know you did, because you got value out of this, make sure you're giving it them 5 stars, share, review, tell everybody about it, put it in your story, tag me, tag Sean. I'll put you in my story. He'll put you in his story. Maybe. We'll see. Depends on how many times you've called him out for not looking like he's worked out.
I'll still tag. Yeah, I like to celebrate the trolls.
Love it. Dr. Sean, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
See you out there.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Active Life podcast. If you did, please head to wherever you listen and leave us that 5-star rating. It really does go a long way. 5 stars goes a long way. Please leave them. If you're interested in working with us as a coach, remember, we help coaches from around the world build fulfilling careers, working with clients they're inspired to help so they never have to worry about being able to pay your bills again. No one's ever going to ask you if you are going to get a real job when you work with Active Life. All you have to do, head into the show notes, click the link that you find there, download our curriculum. That will give you a feel for what it is going to take for you to be successful. A team member of ours will reach out to you to find out if it's a fit for us to work together. Till the next show, turn pro.